Hello, this is Edgin Montiel, and this video is for UCCS's MAE 1503 Introduction to Engineering Design with Dr. Christopher Foley. And this video is going to be going over the SolidWorks tutorial that's here on the Basic Techniques tab called Fillets. This is an assignment that Dr. Foley assigned, but it's also pretty much just doing this tutorial through SolidWorks. This one is going to show us how to do some more in-depth techniques regarding the fillets as well as some different sketch relations. So now we're going to just go ahead and walk through the steps here together. The first thing it's going to do is have us create a new part here in SolidWorks because we're going to make this little knob piece that we're going to put a bunch of different fillets on. And the first thing it wants us to do, just like we're used to, is we're going to click on the extrude boss base button. And then we have to pick a plane, so we're going to pick the front plane, and then it wants us to come to this arc tool, and picking the little right arrow to it, I'm going to make sure I pick the center point arc, and then I click on the center point here, and I can draw my arc, just like it says in the instructions. So once I hit the full 180 degrees, I see that little blue line appear, and I can see there it says A, which is for angle, equals 180 degrees. Then I can left click to stamp that into place. If I'm ever not sure if this was the 180 degrees that the instructions are talking about over here, I can always come and confirm over here that the little angle is 180 degrees. So I got that. Now we're going to draw a midpoint line, which is different than the lines we've drawn before. So we come up to our line tool. The little arrow to the right of it will allow us to pick the different types of midpoint or different types of lines we could draw, and we're going to pick the midpoint line. So since it is a midpoint line, we start at the midpoint. So I click the origin there, and I can draw a line up and down at the exact same time. And I have a ton of sketch relations here now because everything's tied to the origin, and SolidWorks understands where it is in this 3D plane. The only thing it's not sure about is the dimensions. But we're done drawing for now, so we're check mark to get out of our line tool. And then we're going to click on our Smart Dimension tool to give this a radius of 15 millimeters, is what the instructions say over there. And our drawing went completely black now, so we're fully defined, and we could just hit the check mark button over here in our Property Manager to get out of the Dimension tool. And we're actually done sketching altogether too, so we can hit Exit Sketch to get out of the sketch. And if we did everything right, it should automatically take us into our Boss Extrude feature tool that we were in. So we had hit the exit sketch, and then under direction 1, it wants us to select blind under the end condition, which is already there. And under depth, under D1, it wants us to put 10 millimeters, which that value has already been entered there as well. So this part's done, and I just hit the green check mark. Now on the next step, we're going to be creating the grip. So it wants us to click on the little right button to be able to change the orientation of the figure here, of our little knob that we're making. So then select the right plane over here in our design tree. So we can see that that got highlighted in our window. And then we're going to click on Extrude Boss Base again, because we are now going to sketch out this figure that they have going here. So I'm just going to pick my regular line tool like we're used to. And when I draw this first one, I can make sure that it snaps into place with kind of like the y-axis so that it's nice and vertical, and I get the little vertical sketch relation. And then I'm going to just draw it to be similar to what it looks like over there in the instructions. So this doesn't have to be perfect, so just something that kind of looks like it. So once I draw that, I'm done with my line tool, so I hit my check mark. And now it wants me to add a collinear relation between the vertical sketch line and the edge. So hold the control button while selecting, oh, we're done with the line though. So now while holding the control button, I select this line and this edge. And it selected multiple things, so we're going to get rid of this line 4 by right-clicking on it and going to delete. So now we have our edge 1 and line 1, And we want to make those a collinear relationship. So I'm going to click on this collinear here, and then when I hit check mark, you'll see that my sketch automatically moved those to each other. And now it wants me to dimension this according to the center point, which is kind of cool. So we're going to use the Smart Dimension tool, and we're going to go from the center point to this line and make that a value of 18 millimeters. And similarly, on the bottom, we're going to go from the center point, and I know I'm there because of that orange little dot that appears, down to this one, left-clicking on each of those spots just once, and then left-clicking to stamp this little window to appear to be able to modify the dimensions, type a value of 18 millimeters in there as well. And then if the instructions make sure you understand what it's talking about here, is that it wants us to dimension it to where the dimensions are the actual length of the lines, and we can tell because these dimensions are angled with it. So this is going to be the correct way of doing it. And then over here, this is the incorrect way of doing it because this would actually be like as if this was the hypotenuse. So this would actually be longer than the 15 dimension that's shown here. So when we're using our Smart Dimension tool, we want to click on this line, and when we do so, oh, see, I clicked on the midpoint. So I'm going to hit Escape twice to get out of my Smart Dimension tool. And then I'm going to click on Smart Dimension again, because that was a misclick, so I got to make sure I click right. So then when I come and click on this line, it should let me do it either this way, where I'm even with a line, which is the right way according to the instructions, or if I kind of start moving my cursor differently, it'll let me do it the other way as well, where this would actually be the hypotenuse of this base. This would be one of the legs of my triangle, if you want to think of it that way, which is not the way I want it. So I need to make sure I position it right to where it's parallel with the line that I'm trying to dimension, because that's how the instructions gave me the dimensions. So I'm going to click this Smart Dimension and stamp it here and put the value of 15 millimeters, which is what the instructions say over there. And just like I did for that one, I got to do the exact same thing for the rest of these, making this one 25 millimeters according to the instructions, and making this one a value of 10 millimeters according to the instructions. The only other thing it uses to dimension is between these two is an angle of 100 degrees. So just like before, I left click on that line, left click on that line, and it'll give me the ability to set the angle. When I left click to stamp that into place, I could set the value for 100. And when I do, everything turned black now because my picture is fully defined. And I do have these other sketch relations, just like the instructions show they have those sketch relations. So then now I can hit exit sketch. And this is a part that is cut off in the instructions. And I always have to try to highlight it and open Word to see what it says to paste it. So it wants us to set it to a depth of 5. So just like before, because we did everything in the right order, it automatically went into the Boss Extrude tool. But now we are going to set this to 5 millimeters and then hit check mark. Now we have the little top portion of our knob here. So now it wants us to hit our diametric button, and we're going to click the draft button, which this is pretty cool because when you look at our figure here, it's all nice and boxy. So what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to put an angle on it to where this isn't so flat here. It's going to kind of come down at an angle. And you'll be able to see a little bit better. That's the best view. So you'll be able to see how this is so square and boxy right now, but we're going to actually add what SolidWorks calls this draft to it. So by clicking on that button, then we're going to click manual. It's already there. Select neutral plane and the type of draft. We're already there. The draft angle to 10 degrees, that's already there. And then in the upper left-hand corner of the graphics area, expand the feature, design tree, and select the right plane. So right here, we can also get to our design tree, so we can expand this out while we're in here so that we can get to all this stuff that would normally be here. So this is kind of a cool way that SolidWorks still gives you the ability to access all the stuff that's in the design tree while you're in a property manager. So being able to open this window, we can now select the right plane under the condition of neutral plane. So we want to make sure that we're in neutral plane while we select right plane. And then faces to draft, it wants us to pick all those faces. So we're already there. Now I'm going to orient it so I can see what I'm doing better here. And it wants me to pick that one, and that one. And then we're going to click on Show Preview. And then hit 10 degrees. We already did that, so check mark, and that's done. And now when you look at it, you can actually tell that there's like an angle to it. Where was the best one? There it is. Instead of it just being flat, it's actually kind of angled now. So I think that's kind of a cool thing that you can do in SolidWorks because it takes very little effort on our part. You make it all boxy, and then you can actually start giving things better shape to what you actually want it to be. So now we're going to finish giving this thing a lot more shape. So we're going to start applying all of these fancy fillets to it. So we're going to click fillet, and then in our property manager window, we're going to click face fillet, which I think is just this regular one. No, this one right here is face fillet. So then under items to fillet, we're going to click in face set 1 in the graphics area and select the face set 1. So in there, and then face set 2 goes in here. And then we have our full preview. Under fillet parameters, we set this to hold line. And then in this blue box, we can set this hold line to way down here. So I think these instructions were written a little while ago to where some of these things were maybe labeled a little bit different. Or I don't know if you hover it over. Oh, it does. There, if you hover over it, that's where you can see it, where it's called face set 1 and face set 2. So over here, it's telling you under items to fillet, click and face set 1. So it's talking about clicking this face so that you can click this face to populate it, and then clicking this area so you can click that area to populate it. You always want to make sure you have a preview, in my opinion, so you can kind of see what's going on with your image. But ultimately, you can see right here, we're trying to put a fillet right here on this front 2 planes, and for it to take over the whole plane. So that's what this particular fillet is doing. So then that's everything the instructions say. So hit check mark, and now we are very similar to what's going on there. Now on this step in the instructions, it's going to have us apply a couple more of the constant fillets to this spot here and this edge here. So we just click on our fillet button, and we'll start by doing this top little one, and we just want to make sure to click on the little line and not the whole face. Oh, see, like that. That's how you click on the whole face. So I come over here where items to fillet, it populated face 1. I can right click on it and go to delete. But I want to make sure I just get this little line here where it says edge 1 now. And I want to set this value to 5 millimeters according to the instructions over here, the tutorial. Then I hit my check mark. Then I hit fillet again, and I'm going to do this little edge this time, except make this value 2 millimeters. And then I hit my check mark button. So now it wants us to do this edge, and this one's going to be a constant size fillet. So hit my fillet button, constant size fillet, under fillet parameters for fillet method, set asymmetric. For distance 1, put 1 millimeter. Under distance 2, put 2 millimeters. So change that to 2. And then under items to fillet, we're picking this little edge right here. And then I kind of got to move it around, but I can tell here it got 1 on the bottom and 2 on the top. And we actually want 1 on the top and 2 on the bottom. So we have to click the little flip button somewhere. Reverse direction right here, this one right here. If you hover over it, it says reverse direction, so you click that. And now we got the 1 millimeter on the top and the 2 millimeter on the bottom, just like the instructions say. So I hit my check mark, And now I have that fillet on there. Now we're just going to do this edge up here. So we're going to we're going to skeleton this out just because sometimes when you're working on parts in SolidWorks, having it solid and colored like this might be a little difficult for you to actually see what's going on. So right here at the top of your screen, there's this display style button. And this is where we actually have it on shaded with edges, and that's my favorite view. There's also without edges, which is like this softer looking view. And then there's also this skeleton view, and then with the hidden lines, so you can actually see through it. And then a very skeleton view. But this is the one that SolidWorks wants us to put it in for now. And then we're going to click our fillet button. And the type of fillets, we're going to do a varying fillet, which is the second button now. And under items to fillet, we want to clear tangent propagation. And for the edges to fillet, we want to, or fillet, we want to click all these edges on here. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they all populated on there. We want them to be symmetric. And then we want to set them all to 1.5 millimeters. We click this set all button, and you'll notice that up here they all change to 1.5. Now while holding control, I can click the top one and that one, and just for those two now, I can change that to 1 millimeter. And up here now I can see I have 1 millimeter on those, 1.5 on everything in the middle, and then 1 on this edge. And in my image here, I can see the same thing. I have 1 millimeter fillet on this side. As we approach the middle, we get to the 1.5 millimeter fillets. And then back when we get on this side, it's at 1 millimeter again. So that's the idea of having this varying fillet along the edge there. And we can see it pretty good in our picture. And we can see the dimensions on there when we load it in SolidWorks. And now we can turn it back to our shaded view with edges, because we have a nice fillet knob there. And now we're going to use the mirror feature. It's the next step in the instructions. So when I click on mirror, it wants me to pick the plane that I'm going to mirror. So again, I have to get to my design tree, which isn't here anymore. So I have to access it by clicking this little arrow here. And then I'm going to find the plane that I want to mirror on, which is the right plane here. We want to mirror across that to make this our lives easy and make the whole other half of the button without doing anything. And in the property mirror, face, plane, the right flyout mirror, design tree, under bodies to mirror, any geometry. So we want to do bodies to mirror. There's lots of options. You could do features to mirror, secondary mirror face plane. I'm not even sure what that one does. Mirror face plane. So we only want to populate mirror face slash plane, which is the right plane. And then the bodies to mirror, we want to come in here and select that guy. So it'll actually do the whole copy there, and then when we hit check mark, we easily copied our entire button. So the next thing it wants us to do is to put a fillet on this little edge that it created here. So we're going to click our fillet button, and it wants us to do the constant size fillet again and change the parameters to 5 millimeters. The items to fillet is going to be this line down the middle, and it got the whole thing. We want to make sure it's symmetric, and that tangent propagation is selected. And then hit check mark and pow. We just finished that. Now the last part of this is going to be using a item from the library to be able just to add straight onto a part. So if there's some kind of feature or something that you use all the time, you can actually make a preset part of that, so that way you can add it to all your other parts super quickly. So I started by just going to the back of my knob here, and now I'm going to click my design library that's right here. And then once I expand that out, we can find in our features folder, and then metrics folder, and then I have keyways. And in the keyways, there is this keyway called square key BS bore BS 4500 P1, which is this one right here, bore with square keyway. So I grab that and I can pull it out directly onto my part, and I just kind of set it in the middle-ish where I want it. Then the instructions tell me to pick this, dimensions of it, it's just the size. We want to link to part in library. This is just going to be able to give us the ability that if we ever go into our library and change the dimensions or something about this part, it will actually change it in our part automatically because they're kind of like tied to each other now, which is super beneficial. Now we have to have references. So in here, we're going to click this box to populate this edge, which we want that edge to be this orange edge because that's going to help us center our keyhole here. And then we hit check mark, and that puts the little keyhole inside of our figure there. So originally, I have done this on my computer before. So before, when you first have SolidWorks, this keyhole that you use is too long, and it will actually go through the back of your part. So then these next few steps are going to have us edit the part. So what it has you do is in this feature manager design tree over here, if we right click on this bore with square keyway BS of 4500 P1, and we can right click on it and hit edit in context, it's actually going to open up this part in SolidWorks for us because this is it's like a part that we got from SolidWorks, a pre-made part. And then under the property managers, we can go to edit feature for our keyway. So we're going to go right here and click edit. And right here, we can actually mess with how far it goes in here. So before, I think it went through all, so it was actually going through everything, and that's why it went through our parts. We changed it to blind in the end condition and changed this to 5. And when you hit check mark, it actually makes the part smaller. And when you go back to your other part, whenever you change a part like that in SolidWorks, it'll actually update your part over here as well. So if yours was going through it, just by following these couple steps to go to the alternate window within SolidWorks to alter the part, by altering this part, you actually alter your part as well, since that was put inside of it. And that is the end of these instructions. To complete Dr. Foley's assignment, you had to take some pictures along the way. This end result showing the hole not going through your thing is one of the pictures. Another one of the pictures was before you had the mirror with this varying fillet on it. So he wanted to see an assignment where you could, oh, we're going to control Z that. An assignment where you could see these varying fillets on here, the 1 millimeter versus the 1.5 and the one down here as well. So that was one of the pictures. I think he also wanted that one in the skeleton view. So you want to submit this one like that. And then let's go pull up the assignment real quick, just so we can make sure we're getting them all. Yes, he wanted that image so he could see those. Oh, the other image with it mirrored, so make sure that we can see that it's mirrored for your submission. And then the last one is with the keyhole. Submit all 3 of those images for full credit on that assignment, and thanks for watching.